Renegades, you know this is our spin-off channel right here at That Hashtag Show. I am not alone this week. I know we haven't done an After Dark in a while, but this week we're going to bring something different to you. You can usually only see these kind of panels at conventions, but you know what? We're in the digital age. We're going to bring them to you live. But you already know I'm Joe with That Hashtag Show. I'm going to go down the line here, starting with you. Name the shows that you do and who you are.
I'm part of the Henshin Hangout, Ranger Wrap-Up, and Infinity Watchtower. And I'm Jezzer. Sorry, my voice is kind of...
Dude, with that voice, I'm Ro, and I'm with the Star Wars Fanatics. I do that with my partner Joe here. I'm from thathashtagshow.com.
Nice.
I'm Alex. I am the host of Ready, Set Geek from the Geek Say What Network.
I'm Justin. I host a Hedge and Hat here on That Hashtag Show, and my two podcasts, Benview and Spielberg, and Nothing New, a remake podcast.
And I'm JPG. I am the owner of the Geek Say What Network.
Guys, what unites us and brings us together is our love for geek entertainment. First question that I'm sure that a lot of people want to know, and we're going to be talking about how to break into this, or at least how we think you should be breaking into this, because there's no wrong or right way to really do this. But I want to get everybody's kind of like gauge on how you started even going down the path of this genre. JPG, we'll start with you.
So Alex actually is the one who got me into it, and we specifically deal in the podcast medium. So what got us into this is Alex and Cole, our other founder, needed extra credit, and they called on me to be the uber nerd on their show.
Well, you were the good student, so it made sense.
I am a very good student. So yeah, we actually started this as a radio show, and we recorded the radio shows, and we released them. People liked it. And we proceeded to kind of just mess around for a few years, and we really took this seriously around 2014, 2015 when we built the network.
Justin, how about you?
Excuse me. So my first podcast I worked on was a show that's now dead called About Heroes, and I was one of the four hosts on that show. We retired that show, and then I eventually started another podcast with three other friends named The Order of the Triad. We did that for 2 years, and then that show retired. And around 2014, I started Benview and Spielberg. And I guess basically it's I had a taste of the podcast, recording style when I did the first show, liked it, and wanted to keep doing it and finding ways to make it a little better. And it's just fun for me to just kind of just put my thoughts out there, put my friends' thoughts out there in a way that I hope is entertaining for other people to listen to.
Alex, so you got involved through school.
Yes, Cal State Fullerton.
Cal State Fullerton, and this was during the boom of the big podcast era, where there weren't, it wasn't as saturated as it is now. But talk to me about how you decided, you know what, transitioning from radio to podcasting was going to be the way to go.
Well, for college, it was semester-based. So when it was summer break, we realized we were losing our listeners, we were losing the people we were networking with at conventions, and it was kind of falling apart, and then we'd have to pick up and pretty much start all over again. So when we finally decided that this was something we were going to do and stick with, we had to turn it into a job pretty much. We had to save certain nights that were, okay, this is when we're going to work, Sure. This is when we're going to get it done. But by that point, JPG had graduated. And sorry, Cole, for tattling, but Cole and I did not. But we were no longer going to school.
Wait a minute. Ooh. You and Cole are not college graduates?
I went back and got my associates. I don't know how much that counts.
And yeah, Cole, but you learned a different language for it. So yeah, you're fine.
And Cole is literally one class away. But neither one of us really finished. But yeah, so we turned around and we're like, okay, well, now what? How are we going to do this? Where do you pick back up? And I think JPG was listening to podcasts at the time.
Yeah.
I listened to talk radio, which is pretty similar, but live.
Yeah, that's interesting because my dad used to listen to talk radio, and I'm like, why aren't you playing music? now that I'm in this age, I'm like, no, we're going to listen to a podcast. And it's like, kids nowadays, right?
Right. And you can't help it. You kind of get what you grew up with, I guess. Maybe that's why we're here, is because we grew up kind of learning on accident.
True.
I think.
We're from a new era, and speaking of eras, I want to talk to Ro here.
I go back the furthest in era. I'm going to guess that I'm the only parent on the show tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying.
Joe might have some kids somewhere.
I'll give you some tips. That's true.
Yeah, so I remember, I was an Adam Carolla fan. and basically he's the godfather of podcasting. I love podcasting. I came from the music industry. Always wanted my own radio show, and you know, I was playing. I was an artist. I was working. I had several record deals throughout the early 2000s, late 90s, and when the music industry kind of changed, because you know, I am that old, and I got to experience the shift of music from the analog world into the online world, then I was thinking of different things to do. I got tired of music, so I wanted to do film and make content. And I was like, what is this thing, podcasting? And it was great. It was a great time to jump in, and I was able to springboard into doing media full time for a living because of it. I love it. I've been doing it for full time as my job 6 years now.
Wow.
Oh.
The dream.
Hashtag goals.
Yeah, the dream.
Jezzer, I actually want to talk to you for a quick second about this because you took a very unorthodox way to get into Geek Entertainment. You started off, and this is actually going to be really relevant to a lot of you cosplayers out there. Because Jezzer, talk to me about how you kind of started in this and where you are now.
So, I started as a cosplayer, and then I did the turtle gigs with Vanilla Ice for a few years.
You say it's Vanilla Ice.
Vanilla Ice.
There you go.
And Mr. Rob, so,
Mr. Rapu?
I can't say his last name.
Rob Van Winkle?
Rob Van Winkle. Yeah, so I did that for a little bit. That's when I met you guys. After we got hit with that cease and desist, I was cosplaying for a little bit, and then I think I've seen you guys around through the convention scene, but I actually did, like, back in high school. I used to be an intern at a radio station. I kind of like was organizing. We were still using CDs. It was this radio station on a military base, and it was the only like American station that they had. And I'd get the CDs that were sent from the U.S., organize them and put them up, and then every once in a while they'd put me on. But yeah, I think I met you guys at the con scene, and then just started hanging out with you guys a little bit more, and then kind of just hung around, kind of like loitered within the studio. And then Joe was probably thinking, well, what's this guy doing here all the time? Why don't you do something, you know? He put me to work. So yeah, I probably have the least amount of experience with this, but kind of just got thrown into it.
So we are going to be taking your questions, just like a panel would be at a convention. We're going to take your questions, except digitally. You can write them right here at that Pop Culture Renegades. I was going to say that hashtag show. But this is our channel where you can get to know us as people and how to do things. But if you have questions, let us know what you want answered. Now, I have a question for the two of you. Alex and JPG,
Yeah.
I'm sure your fans know that you guys are married.
It's still a surprise to people a
Really?
lot of the time. Well, we specifically do this for certain reasons. You know, like we sit separately from each other. We do all that stuff because we want to focus on the content, not us being.
And we kept it a secret till we got engaged.
Yes.
To
Gotcha.
not take away my validity for being on the show.
Really? Was that really a thing?
The moment we announced we were engaged, somebody brought up to JPG. I can say anything, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Somebody brought up to JPG that I was only on the show because of my vagina and the fact that he was getting laid.
Fuck that guy.
I created the show.
This is a free comic book day that somebody actually walked up to me and told me that.
Really?
What?
Yeah.
They told you
Punch
that
him
in
in the
person?
face?
In person.
What the hell?
I
Yeah,
had no
yeah.
right being there.
But you know, Alex, so you know, we founded this network on three principles that the three of us that Alex, myself, and Cole founded this on, right? So Alex was about introduction, Cole was about entertainment value, I was about critique, right? But she has a specific reason why she wanted it to be introduction. So I mean, if you want to tell people about that.
Sure. So I wasn't a geek. I'll be honest. My geekdom was Archie comics, making fun of my dad for watching sci-fi, and that was about it. And so when I started dating JPG, the first 3 weeks, I actually lied about being a geek, and I would ask Cole questions because we were roommates at the time.
Fraud!
And then I would turn around and pretend like I knew stuff to JPG.
Do you know how awkward that dinner was too when I found out? I was like, so What comics do you like, huh?
Was it the quiz?
Yeah, I went hard. Like I went hard during
He
that
only
too.
found out because Cole tattled on me, by the way. I want that on the record.
She tricked me for 3 weeks.
Well,
Joe.
I mean, it's not that bad. We have a guy here, Battlestar Galactica.
He's actually in the chat.
who actually had no idea what Battlestar Galactica. He knew what it was, but he never saw it.
Daniel.
And he coined his whole thing. But Daniel's in the chat. So
Hi,
it's great.
Daniel.
Alex, go.
Oh yeah, so when we started doing this, it was really hard for me to get into geekdom. I felt like I didn't know where to start, and when I asked people, it was that like, oh, you don't know what that is, you haven't watched that, and so it was a little difficult. Nobody would just help me. And then as we started getting into it, I love board games. I think they're smart and challenging, and I called a comic book shop from a bar down the street, and I was like, hey.
From a bar down the street, huh?
Yeah, we were gonna go pick up a game,
That was
right?
very judgy. That was very judgy.
You're just jealous you weren't at the bar. It's okay.
or the comic book store. Either way.
So we called them and I'm like, hey, what board games do you have? We want to come in and pick something up. Oh, we have Cards Against Humanity. I'm like, well, do you have anything else? Nothing you would understand.
Oh, wow.
That's what they said to me. And I was like, okay,
Girl.
I'm done.
They literally
Yeah.
Wow.
would not let me pay for a board game because they didn't think she would understand it.
Right.
What the?
Wow.
You're such a girl. You can't play this
Right.
game. That's really incredible. That's really freaking incredible.
That's pretty crazy.
It's just one of those things where I feel like with a world that's so hard to get into and all the gatekeeping, I want to try and make it as easy as possible and give as much access. So if people don't know how to get into something or where to start, we try to experience it.
Well, it happens on every level. Look at Kelly Marie Tran.
Right?
No, that's a great point.
A mess and a half.
Yeah.
So wait,
You gotta have thick skin if you're gonna be in the public eye.
Yeah.
Period.
do you, Alex, now feel that you have to prove yourself to certain fans or certain people in order just to maintain that level? Or are you at a point now where you can just be like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to be who I am?
I'm definitely at the fuck it point. For a while,
You
I
have
was
to be.
like, I was working really hard, and then I realized the whole point of what I tell people on the show is, you're learning, I'm learning.
Sure.
Here's one tip I always tell everybody who writes for us or does social media. Rule of thumb that's gotten me this far: never feed the trolls.
Yes.
Yeah.
Never feed the trolls, because guess what? Stupid has the loudest voice, right? Stupid speaks louder than everybody else. So that just means for every one of those stupid people out there, there's 10 people who support you. They're just not going to take the time to tell you.
Right.
They're just enjoying the content.
You actually bring up a great question. Now, I want to see a show of hands. How many times have you been trolled on the internet for what you do? That's everybody.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for all of you people that are watching at home, just know that you're going to take a lot of credit. Listen, I think thick skin might be the wrong word. I mean, you do need to have thick skin doing this, but you also kind of not have to care about what people say. And that's
Right.
a harder thing to accomplish.
It is.
Yeah.
Kind of what you were just talking about.
I will say what really helped me is I looked at the people in my life, and I have a friend who has her doctorate in biochem
Chemistry.
something, and I turned to her and I sent her my work, and I'm like, what am I representing women and our people and whatever it is? I sent it to a friend who's a Jew, and hey, what do you think? And I realized that if I sent my work to people I value, then those opinions coming back are the opinions I value as well, those critiques.
Sure.
If you send them to randos, yes, you want people to listen, but at the same time, not everybody's going to like you, not everybody's going to understand, and so you have to put value in the people you're getting the feedback from.
Justin, I'm going to change topics here for a second.
Sure.
You obviously kind of fed through the cinematic point of view through your podcasting. When did you know that you started hitting your groove and this is what you wanted to do, especially this kind of topic?
I felt like for me, it's like with the movie podcast specifically, it's like the fact that I kept looking forward to scheduling an episode meant that I looked forward to doing the next episode. And for me, it's like, it also definitely plays with the idea of who I do the show with. All my shows have been co-host shows. I've never had a show with like a guest. It's just me and maybe a guest. It's always like, obviously I do a show with another person. That's the whole point of it. And every show I've done has been with people I want to talk to.
Sure.
And if anything, it's my co-host Emily from Ben Beyond Spielberg. She wrote a tweet about very open tweet about I wish there were some people I wish I could hang out with more that I only see occasionally. And one thing I told her was that part of the inspiration sometimes of making a show is that I want to find a way to schedule time to literally talk to some of my favorite people. because we're adults and we have our lives are so crazy that we barely have time to like, it'll take a month to get a dinner plan ready. But if I have a monthly show in which I am actually talking to some of my favorite people and we talk about a subject we're both into, then I feel good about it. And also at the same time, it's like other people apparently are going to be interested in listening to it. So that's kind of how I realized I found my group of like, I like doing this, they like doing this. And then apparently people like hearing us talk. And like that alone is like, okay, great. So it's not just me talking to a void or et cetera. It's like there's a value for everyone involved. That's including the people involved and the people who are listening to us.
That's very interesting because Ro, you're the opposite side of the coin because Justin here was talking about how much he likes doing this with the co-host.
Right.
Whereas I've seen you do this straight up by yourself.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the difference between doing it by yourself, because there's a lot of people that are watching right now that might want to just get into doing this by themselves.
Right, and this is what I always tell, because everybody always comes up to me and says, you know what, I can do what you do. I think I'd be great. Say, great. Hit record on your phone and talk for 45 minutes straight. No one has ever given me a recording back and sent it to me. No one has ever been able to do that. There's a special talent to being able to talk for 45 minutes straight.
Ro, this is the one thing I always complain about, because a question I always get isn't just how do you start a podcast, but how do you become successful, right? And my thing is, it's that. It connects to that, right? Talk to me for 45 minutes, and then on top of that, schedule the next 8 episodes.
Yeah.
You know, and for me, it's all about scheduling. You know, Alex hates this, and my team makes fun of me for this constantly.
That's great.
I send out about 30 to 40 emails a day. And on top of that, I have 18 calendars for us.
We could probably hire you for some scheduling stuff.
We need that.
Yeah. Joe and I are not the best at that.
But no, I really appreciate that, because it's that idea of, and there might be people watching this that think the same thing. Like, oh, I can do what they do. Like, you gotta show me that. Yeah, you gotta show
And
me.
that's what I always say. There's a couple of rules. You have to have thick skin is the term I use, because I talk with a lisp when I start speaking up. I use foul language. I say politically incorrect things. You know, so I get a lot of hate, and I just shrug it off, and I look at the good criticism and take it for what it's worth, and I try to improve on it. But what I tell people is, you've got to have thick skin. You got to know that you're going to get criticized, and it's okay. You got to be consistent. You got to keep doing it. And by the way, if you can't send me that recording of you talking for 45 minutes straight, you shouldn't even get started. Yeah. You know, when you can do that, when you send me that recording of you talking and keeping it interesting for 45 minutes straight, then I'll tell you, you know what? Go ahead. You might be onto something.
So, Jezzer, you've been in some interesting positions on this show particularly, because I mean, for a guy that started in cosplay and then went into doing all of this stuff, you more so you kind of got engulfed into it. And there's been times where you've had to do the show by yourself. Talk to me, you have had to do the show by yourself. Talk to me about some of the struggles you had to deal with doing that.
Just controlling the pace of the show, I guess, and controlling how everything flows. Like, what I've learned from, even though I haven't been doing this that long, what I've been picking up is how to pace a show, how to plan it out, knowing my cast members, how long they will talk about a certain subject, and like controlling the time constraints with that. If I know that I'm with a person that they're not very talkative or something, I have to either up like how much I talk about it.
I feel like if they're not very talkative, why did we hire them?
or figure out some visual things to add to it, especially for a live stream show,
right?
To kind of enhance the show a little bit, and not only that, but like fill in the hours. It's all about what I'm learning about is like time management and just making sure that the entertainment value doesn't go down as far as. So if it starts to slow down and whatever we're talking about just keeps to drags on a little bit, then I'll probably like throw something in there to take a little break and then kind of like regroup and then come back after the video clip is done. That's what I'm just trying to figure out how to keep the flow steady and how to keep it going for at least an hour.
So here's a question that I get asked all the time, and this is really